Hello there, I'm Mouldy, and last year we filled up the members board, which was a 16 by 16 tile. So this year we've actually increased it to a small base plate. If you would like to become a member, you do get your name told on. But before you watch any more of this video, I'm actually streaming live right now, where I'll be building the Onyx Cinder and talking about Skeleton Crew Season 1, and man, what a finale. So whether or not you like Skeleton Crew, definitely feel free to join me and return to this video later on. But this has got me thinking about the anatomy of a Lego tile, because they're not as straightforward as it might seem. The only numbers you'll need to know for this entire video, though I do have my caliper for measuring a few things later on, is that a Lego brick system works in a grid of 8 by 8 millimeters. 8 is the magic number for this video. That's all you'll need to know. We don't really need to deal with heights because they're basically the height of a plate, and a similar situation occurs anyway. No doubt we'll probably get into it later on in this video. So a Lego brick system, each stud is 8 millimeters across to the left or right or further forward, further back, whichever direction you're heading than the stud you are measuring from. So you'd assume that a Lego tile is 8 millimeters thick. We're going to go with thickness and length being the longer side. When I get my trusty caliper here, which hopefully is measuring as accurately as it ever does, and I put the tile in between, it comes up 7.8 millimeters, which is 0.2. It's flickering 0.8, 0.9. We'll go with 0.8 because that's what I measured earlier. 7.8 is 0.2 millimeters smaller than 8, and 0.2 in itself is actually a fairly common number if you're used to modeling, 3D printing, and just any sort of work. Because when I am 3D printing, 0.2 is the number that I increase, decrease, or have a little separation between parts that I want to fit smoothly with each other. If you want a bit of friction, usually 0.1 is your go-to number. So I guess there might be a little bit of friction in some of these tiles. Maybe it's like 7.85. But the fact that these are 0.2 millimeters smaller, and there are two sides, so each side is going to be 0.1. But like I said, just remember that magic 8, because when you have two tiles next to each other, that gap is still 0.2 millimeters, which enables them to fit so flush. I mean, there's no chance of you seeing the other one, and from my side, I can't see the other tile, but my camera's not going to pick up any of that. And the pure reason behind this is just so they fit down, no problems. If they were exactly 8 millimeters, it's going to be very hard to clip them down. And then when they're down, that is a solid sheet of tiles. There's no chance these are going anywhere. But what about the length of the 1x4 in this case? So it's a 1x4. We expected it to be 8. It wasn't. So chances are it's not going to be 32 millimeters long. And when measuring it with our trusty caliper, it turns out it is 31.8 millimeters long. So again, we're seeing it 0.2 millimeters shorter than it should be. But how comes it's only 0.2 millimeters thinner when it's a lot longer than the other side? And again, this isn't really to do with the tile, but it's to do with the edge of the tile needing that extra little bit of gap. So I have gone and tested this a little further. The top tile here is actually the full 32 millimeters, and the one below is the same size as Lego. And there doesn't seem to be too much of a difference. But over time, if I close that gap and made it a solid block of plastic, they're going to be rubbing against each other, wearing down the corners, especially of the bricks, and it's just going to wear the bricks down even quicker. Perhaps the 0.2 millimeters around, or 0.1 on every single side of these Lego tiles, actually helps with the long lives of these Lego bricks. And recently I spoke about the plastic, the bamboo plastic that Lego use for a lot of their plant elements, which again isn't biodegradable. And I know numbers, I do not know science, so I have no idea what conditions it needs to be able to break down, but they're going to last you a long time nonetheless. But is this true for all Lego bricks, or is this just true for tiles? Well, the closest brick we have to a Lego tile you'd think is probably a Lego 1x4 plate, which I should have really thought of, but I went with the 1x4 brick. It's got a few thicker sides, which will just help us get an accurate measurement with our caliper. But again, it seems we've got 7.8 millimeters across the short side and exactly 31.8. I mean, I can't even fake these results. And I'm sure there's some way you could probably program a caliper to give you mixed results, but you can see it starts off at 0, and in putting the brick in between and squeezing it up, hopefully that still reads 31.8. 31.9, oh, it's flickering. 31.89. Is it going to stay on 31.8? I think it's going to stay on 31.8. So I guess this is more of the anatomy of Lego bricks in general, having that gap. But 1x4s are all good. What about 2x2s? This is a 2x2 modified tile with a stud, aka a jumper tile. And these should be 1.6 centimeters or 16 millimeters. No need to switch up the measurement by 16 millimeters. So in your mind, think of a number, guess how wide you think this tile actually is. And it should be the same across both dimensions. We'll also be putting that to the test. And if you guessed 15.8, pat yourself on the back. And if you didn't, guess what the other side is going to be. I'll give you 3 seconds, 2, 1. Once again, 15.8, which is really nice that we got the same number. So once again, we're seeing that same 0.1 millimeter around the edge of all the bricks. And I'm sure this goes for near enough every brick. In fact, it'd be interesting to see if it's true for studs. And I can confirm, in fact, it is true, 7.8 millimeters. So to anyone trying to make some sort of non-Lego connections for Lego, you can actually afford 0.1 millimeters each side of your bricks. Though I would recommend leaving that clear so that your bricks aren't scraping across any sort of other surface. But I think this is really, really cool to see that Lego bricks themselves aren't fully just a multiple of 8 millimeters and they've left it there. They're not as basic as they actually seem to be. And these little bricks actually have a little, it feels like a force field around the outside. There's 0.1 millimeters where nothing can touch them. And I know that's not entirely the case, but it is really cool how those gaps that are iconic to Lego bricks. There are other brands out there that have no gaps between the tiles, no gaps between the bricks, but you just know Lego is Lego through the gap that remains in between these pieces, as well as, of course, the Lego logo on top of the bricks. So next time you're looking at your Lego and there's a little gap between some pieces, and it might annoy a few of you out there. I've come to love it over my time building Lego, but I know it's not always perfect for what you want. And a few of the older Lego pieces do have certain things like the groove missing from the bottom of the updated modern tiles, which I'm sure if we were to take a measurement of this as well, that groove is probably indented a millimeter up into the bottom of a tile. I wonder if the tile itself is actually a millimeter shorter than the other plates. But they are questions for another time. If you are a member on the channel, keep your eye out for another video where I update the members' tiles and get them looking a bit better than last year. But that's all for today's video. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Why do you think Lego went with a millimeter gap each side? Because they could have made that bigger or smaller. There's really no telling. Leave your guesses down in the comments. I look forward to hearing what you think. May the bricks be with you always.